In this tutorial, we will cover how a consultant creates a new lump sum invoice in the CMS module. Please note that you will need an active EPM account and be assigned to the appropriate user profiles to access this area. If you need to request a new EPM account, that information can be found on the UDOT website. The EPM login link can also be found on the UDOT website along with additional EPM instructions. Follow the link and use your assigned credentials to log in. Once logged into EPM, enter the CMS module by selecting the blue CMS button on the right side of the screen. The populated screen is a list of action items for the consultant, if there are any. To create a new invoice, you will use the menu across the top of the screen. Select the contract and then select the 917 CMS Invoice Status from the drop-down menu. This status screen shows a list of all contracts that are invoice eligible, invoices that are started but not yet submitted, invoices that have been submitted and waiting for PM approval, invoices that have been approved and are waiting for comptroller approval, and finally, a list of all invoices that have been paid. Keep in mind that before an invoice can be created in CMS, the consultant must create the invoice in their accounting system first and compile all backup documentation, which will include company's invoice, labor reports, receipts, and any other required documentation. To create a new invoice, double-click on the NTP date of the contract you would like to create an invoice against. This will open up the invoice screen to create the invoice. The first thing you will enter is the firm's invoice number. This is the number that is assigned by the consultant's accounting system. Next, enter the invoice start date, which indicates when work started for this invoice, and the invoice end date, indicating when work ended for this invoice. The next thing you will need to enter or change is the remittance address. This address will default to the company's primary address. If there needs to be a different address, you can use the drop-down arrow to change that. If a new address needs to be added, that will have to be done by the company administrator on the 930 screen. Once this information has been entered, select Save Invoice Header in the upper right-hand corner. This will populate the contracted amount, and all you are required to enter is a percentage complete on the contract. The system will automatically adjust for any percentage previously billed. Note, you will have the ability to edit the invoice header after you save it. At this point, you will review the current invoice total on the right-hand side of the screen and all subsequent amounts. You will also be able to enter any invoice notes that you would like printed on the invoice, but this can be done at any time during the invoice creation. If this is the first invoice against the contract and doesn't start at the NTP date, additional information will be required and is covered in another tutorial. If the amount and all information is correct and you're ready to submit, select the Submit to UDOT PM button on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. When you submit the invoice, you will be asked a series of questions and will be required to upload your supporting documentation. It will ask if you're ready to upload your documents now and open up your files to be uploaded. Again, you can only have one file, so everything must be uploaded as a single PDF. After you upload your documents, it will take you to the Submit screen where you can enter communication notes to the PM or reviewer about this particular invoice and will not be printed on the invoice. Be sure to read the acknowledgement. That indicates that UDOT will be paying from the UDOT invoice and not the consultant invoice. Next, you will be asked if this is the final payment on this contract. If you select yes, the system will not allow any additional invoices to be created. If the contract is a local government contract, you will also be asked to verify that the local government approval is included in the backup documentation. Once submitted, you will be notified and emails will be sent out to all parties. The invoice is now submitted and will be available to be viewed on the Pending UDOT Approval tab if needed. On the Pending UDOT Approval tab, you can review communication comments, show invoice history, and print the invoice. Thank you for watching. For additional information, you can visit the UDOT website for additional tutorials or email EPM support at epmsupport@utah.gov.